Ladies and gentlemen and creative computer 3D design students, let's go ahead and get started with our 3D printed keychain. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to open up Autodesk Fusion 360, and you can open it. You can open it up on the desktop, or if you go to the assignment in Classroom, there's a link where you can open it up in your browser. And then once you get it looks the same either way. Once you get there, what you're going to do is you're going to create a design. So make sure this says design. And then you're going to go to I want a new design. Okay, and then the first thing you do, even though this is possibly browser based, you still have to save it like it's like a regular old app on the desktop. So we're going to go ahead and click the save button here, and we're going to give it a good name. I'm going to call this Angry Bird 3 because I've messed around with it a few times. It's my third version, and we don't want to save it in any old location. By the way, this is not in your folder with your name on it in the OES network. This is saving in the cloud. So I'm going to click on New Project, click, and I'm going to call this Keychain. Okay, and so then I'm going to click on Keychain. Okay, and so it's going to be Angry Bird 3 saved in my keychain folder, and I'm going to click save. And then we're going to double check on this to make sure that's the case. All right, so then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start a sketch. So we're going to click on create sketch, and it wants to know where in the world we want to make the sketch. So I'm going to click on the top, and I'm going to click right there. So I just clicked right there saying I want to start drawing on this particular plane. All right, and so as usual, we're going to start off with a rectangle, and we're going to do this in meters. So I'm going to grab my calipers, and I'm going to say, okay, I want like this is between like that's kind of like about as big as you want to. Oh, that's in inches. I'm going to click the little button here and switch it. Okay, so 70. Oh, look, I was really close. So I was about to say 75 millimeters is about as big as you want it, and I was really close to 75 millimeters. Okay, so for me, I want my keychain to be 55. So I found 55. So I'm going to say 55 millimeters tab, 55 millimeters tab, and I'm going to hit enter. Okay, and so this is my reference of how big I want it. So I've already found a picture, and so I'm gonna click on this thing. It's like, okay, I'm gonna stick my picture inside that square. And I'm going to come up here, I'm going to go insert, and it's called a canvas. This thing's called a canvas, so I'm going to insert a canvas, and it's looking automatically in the cloud. I didn't put it in the cloud, I could have, but I'm going to insert it from my computer, so I'm going to go into my folder with my name on it. Oh, it was already there. I'm going to go into creative computers, I'm going to go into 3D design, I'm going to go into 3D freestyle. So by the way, that's the first thing you should do is find your picture that you're going to use as a reference, put it in your 3D, no, not 3D freestyle, put it in your keychain assets. I saved my picture there, and I click open, and it placed it, you notice it placed it in there at the exact right size. Okay, so we're all set there, and I'm going to say okie dokie. Okay, and so it's in with the sketches, and I'm gonna rename this thing. Let's see if it says rename. Yeah, rename that. So I'm gonna name that red picture, or maybe it's actually a canvas. So let's call it red canvas. All right. So I know the only thing I'm gonna put on that sketch, they were called layers in the other programs that we're in. The only thing I'm gonna put on there is that picture of red. Okay. So then now I'm going to start tracing red. Okay, so I'm going to hit pause on this video because what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some of the work ahead of time so you don't have to watch me do all of it. Okay, so hit pause on that. I'll be right back. So I forgot to make my new sketch, I think. Okay, so I'm going to click over here, and I'm going to say, I'm going to finish this sketch. So I'm going to finish this sketch, and then I'm going to make a new sketch. I'm going to finish this sketch. Okay, so I'm finished this red canvas sketch, and then I'm going to create a sketch, and I want it to be right on top of the same thing. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the tail first on this new sketch, and then I'm not while you're watching, and then I'm gonna do the rest while you're watching. Hold tight. Okay, so for this next part, I'm going to show you how to use the spline tool. You can either use the fit point spline, or you can use the, where's the other one? Where's it at? So you can, there's two versions of it. There's the, where'd it go? Well, shoot. I don't know. There's another version of it somewhere. Anyway, we don't care about that. We're going to use this one. So basically what you do is you kind of click here, and you click on all the points. You don't click and drag though. So you just say, okay, I want an anchor point there. I want one there. I want one there. And then I already did the tail, and so I'm going to click right there and connect to the tail. Boom. Okay, and then I'm like, oh, I need to be done, and you click the little checkbox, done. Okay, so now what you do is hit escape, and then now you adjust the anchor point. So you start with the first and you go to the last, because those are the easiest ones to do, because this handle is not really affecting much because there's nothing going in this direction. So it's easiest to do it that way. So I'm going to grab this handle. I'm going to adjust this a little bit. I'm going to come over here, grab this handle, adjust this a little bit. Okay, and then I'm gonna start doing the middle one. So okay, I'm gonna grab this and adjust it, and I'm gonna grab this and adjust it a little bit. Okay, and because the handles both move out in the same at the same distance, it really limits your control. So sometimes you're going to actually have to move the anchor point because of that, because the handles don't give you the control you need. Sometimes you actually end up just having to move the anchor point, like I just did. All right, and then you can fine tune it if you want. That's pretty good for now because you're watching. All right, so now I've connected it here. And here's one thing to note is that you also, with the spline tool, you can't do a corner anchor point. So that's why I did the tail stopped, and there's a corner anchor point there. So I had to do that in a separate thing. So same thing here. I can't do a corner anchor point when I was doing the tail. So now I'm going to start a new spline. So I'm going to click here, I'm done, and then I hit escape, and then I click on that handle. I drag the anchor point to get it where I want it, and close enough for this video. Okay, and so now I'm doing this anchor point, so it has to be a separate spline. So I click on that handle. I click on, I want an anchor point here, and at the end of the corner anchor point, I hit done. I click on my checkbox, and so then I zoom in, and I'm going to adjust all those handles. So I hit escape on the keyboard, click on that, and I'm going to adjust this handle. Okay, and I'm going to click on this one. So it's always easier to do the ends, end, and then go from there. Okay, something like that. And then we're going to click on this. We're going to move this a little bit. Oh, that's pretty good right there. Okay, close enough. All right, and so then we're going to go back to the spline because we had a corner anchor point we had to stop. So I'm going to do a new spline, but it's going to be connected. So I click anchor point 1, click anchor point 2, connect this together. Checkbox, I'm done. And then I hit escape. I click on this anchor point, and I'm going to adjust this handle. I'm going to click on this anchor point, adjust this handle, and click on this anchor point and bring this in a little bit. And I think I'm going to have to go back and adjust this one. I'm struggling with this one. Yeah, sorry about this, guys. All right, I could definitely get this, but I'm gonna call that good enough for now. I don't want to bore you with that. Oh, that bothers me though. Anyway, it's okay. We could get that if we played around with it a little bit more. I'm gonna hit pause, and I'm gonna fix that while you're not looking. Wow, that was easy to fix when you guys weren't watching. I was struggling a little bit. Okay, so now I've got this thing done. So I'm going to say I've got the drawing done. Hopefully it's a closed path. So I'm going to hit done. I'm going to use my center scrolly wheel to zoom out, and then I'm going to click on the center button to move it, and then I'm going to scroll it in. Okay, then I want to orbit it here, so I'm going to click on this button and I'm going to drag so you can see it from the side a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and extrude it. Okay, so I'm going to click on that shape, and then I'm going to tell it, let me move my head here. I'm going to tell it that I want it to be on this one. Let's look at our calipers and say in millimeters, how thick do we want it to be? So I want this one to be, I want it to be 5 millimeters. So I'm going to say 5 millimeters. And on this particular one, I want it to be a new body. I'm going to click OK. And you can see that it did it. And so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to name my stuff. So that body, I'm going to rename that thing. And that was going to be the base. Okay, so that was kind of my base extrusion. And then this sketch, I'm going to rename this sketch. This is going to be, this sketch is also the base. Okay, so we're going to do that. Okay, so now the next thing I'm going to do is I need to make a sketch on top of this so that I can start to do some of the other features. I'm just going to do the eyebrows for now. So I'm going to do, nope, not that way. So I'm going to click on sketch, and I want to sketch right there on top. So I click on top, and did it do it? Didn't seem like it wants to do it. Sketch. Oh, there we go. All right, sketch 3 is on top. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the eyebrows. I'm going to hit pause and do some of it and come back. Actually, I'm not, because you know what, I'm going to let you see it because you haven't. I'm going to just work with the line tool. Line tool is simple, kind of what you'd expect, but I'm going to start here, click, click, click. For ease, I'm not going to do this curve here. Click, 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 and then on this one, I'm going to go to the spline tool. I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to follow this curve that we've done already. So click, click, and then done. And then I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to click on this anchor point, and I'm going to adjust this to follow our curve. Oh man, it doesn't want to do it. I might have to zoom in a lot on this to get it to do it the way I want. Okay, so hit escape, click on this, grab that anchor point. So I was having a hard time getting that line to line up along the curve. So just because it wasn't really doing that fine tuning I wanted. So I'm just going to click. I'm going to just click here in the middle, and then I'm going to click there, and that follows it pretty well. Click OK. So I followed it pretty well. Okay, so I'm going to finish that sketch, and I'm going to use my scrolly wheel, scroll out. I'm going to come down here to, I'm going to click on this middle button of my mouse and zoom in a little bit, and then I am going to orbit this over here. Okay, and I am going to go ahead and I'm going to go to extrude, and I'm going to extrude this. Now I want to come over here and make sure, because sometimes this says something different. You want this to be a new body. You want it to be a kind of a separate part. You don't want it to be combined with body 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it how big I want it. So this is going to be, I'm going to say 3 millimeters, and it's going to be a new body, which is good. Make sure it says that, and click OK. And so now you've got the two different bodies. And if you ever want to, by the way, if you ever want to change something, you can come down here. So for example, if I wanted to edit that extrusion, so I could find it, extrusion 2, and I can edit that feature and say, oh, you know what, I actually wanted that to be, 4 millimeters. Let's see if it'll let me. 4 millimeters. Hit enter, and it actually made that a little bit thicker there. Okay, that's it for the first video. I'm going to show you a little bit more in the second video. But before I do, Make sure you save your changes. Click OK. And you can give it a version, so you can, okay, this is V2. If you want, you don't have to. But at any rate, it's actually nice to save some different versions of it, so you can kind of go back and find, like, oh, there's version 1, there's version 2. You can kind of go back and find some things. All right, that's it for this time around. Thank you.